Did I put it in my front pocket, back pocket? Did I put it in my truck? That notch is enough to sell me on the whole gun. It feels perfect. I wanted to like the Active more because that's like my go-to. This is my new favorite swivel gun. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna do a quick review on McKILLANS' brand new Swivel Gun Pro. We'll do a quick unboxing, disassemble the entire gun, compare it to the old version, and also compare it to my favorite swivel gun currently, the Active Premium Shortgun. Like the old version, you're gonna get this nice integrated swivel that allows you to easily maneuver the gun without kicking up your pressure washer hose. It also appears that they switched to stainless steel quick connect. The trigger feels great and feels very, very light. The coolest feature has to be this integrated pressure washer nozzle holder. This is so cool and it feels very solid. It's cool that they also include M2214 and M2215 quick connects. So this will pretty much fit any setup that you have. You're also going to get some extra O-rings and Teflon tape, but most setups you aren't going to need any of this. You'll be ready to use this right out of the box, no assembly required. To disassemble this gun, you're going to have 9 Phillips head screws. After doing some research, according to McKILLANS, the internals are made with a combination of stainless steel and nickel-plated brass. Those are great materials, and that's going to help keep this gun working perfectly for many years. After pulling this apart, you can quickly see that the trigger system is quite a bit different than the old version. The trigger has a steel plate that, when pulled, compresses the small pin, allowing the pressurized water to move through the gun. Because of the better leverage point, you have a much smoother and lighter trigger pull on the gun. When you compare it to the old version, you can see that the trigger is actually fixed to the hardware inside the gun. Also not a bad system, but the leverage point isn't as advantageous as the new version, which is why the trigger feels a bit heavier. Now, when you compare it to more premium pressure washer guns like the one made by Active, there's a few different things we can see. First off, you'll see with Active, they've manufactured a trigger system that's similar to what you'd see in a firearm trigger reset, like a Glock. Once the trigger is past a certain point, a combination of ball bearings, springs, pressure plates, and other mechanisms relieve the pressure of the trigger. This basically means that once you bring the handle past a certain point, you'll basically have zero tension on the trigger. I love this system. It's genius. I'm not sure if Active came up with it or some other company. Maybe you guys know. Let me know in the comments. But it is really genius and it's impressive to use. You'll also notice that the internals of the Active are hidden inside the frame of the gun, which leads to a smaller overall footprint. Having the hardware closer to the center of the gun gives you a torque advantage. I'll explain that in better detail later on in the video. You're also going to have stainless steel screws, so as you can see, there are definitely some things that the Active is doing better, in my opinion, than this new gun made by McKILLANS. Obviously, this is almost twice the amount of this is. This is $60, this is $100. They're both great guns. This is a great value, but you're seeing stainless steel components on this. The trigger is significantly better on this one. Very, very smooth, very light. There's a significant difference. This feels a lot better. The ergonomics, I keep saying ergonomics because this is really the highlight of this gun, is the ergonomics of it. We're talking about a flat trigger. This is curved. We have a little curve right up here. Everything feels really nice in your hand as opposed to this. There's really no frills in this. This is a very utilitarian design. Nothing really crazy special about it. This is all about feel. It's very apparent that a lot of design and time went into the feel of this gun in your hand, which I really appreciate. All right, so one big difference between these two, and we have to compare it to this because it's now more expensive, so we got to compare it to some high-level swivel guns. If you notice the internals of this swivel gun, everything's on the inside, right? Which makes the footprint of the gun quite a bit shorter, or smaller rather. So you can see check out the quick connect. This piece right here, this swivel portion is actually on the inside of this active swivel gun, right? So you're gonna have less torque on the bottom as opposed to this when you actually get this attached to a pressure washer hose. Same thing up here. Not much, but you can definitely see this is shorter when you compare it to this. So you're gonna feel it both ways. You're gonna feel it when you attach a foam cannon, and then you're gonna also feel it when you attach it to a pressure washer hose. And I'll show you what I mean by this. So when you actually attach this, it's almost like holding on to the end of a wrench. When you hold on to the end of the wrench, you have more torque, and this is working against you now. So you're gonna feel this. This is gonna feel like a heavier gun, as opposed to the active, much shorter footprint, so the hose has less leverage against you. And it's the same thing when you attach a foam cannon. Same thing, you're gonna feel more weight because you have more hardware up front. So that is kind of a con. And really the trigger, you can't really compare these two, but I will. I mean, this is a very, very smooth, soft trigger. It's a very simple design. This active trigger system is like a trigger reset that you'd see on like a Glock, basically. Once you pull it past a certain point, there's basically zero trigger pull right here. There's zero pressure to keep this mechanism down, to keep this handle down. It's very, very light, but there is a good deal of pressure from here to here. But once you're right here, it's basically you're not even grabbing it at all. So I do like that about the active, because for the most part, when you're pressure washing something, you're not hitting the trigger a bunch of times. You're squeezing it once, and then you're locked in. I can basically just hold it like this, and the pressure stays the same. I'm not holding down the grip at all. I'm not holding down the trigger at all. It's just very, very light, whereas this is a constant pull. With that being said, this is very, very, very light. It feels very nice in my hand. The more I play with these, I actually feel like I prefer the feel of this in my hand as opposed to this, but that's really just personal preference. You're gonna have polymer grips or a polymer shell on both of these, but there is a difference with the active. You're gonna get this really tacky premium handle. There's a grip around the handle, and there's also a grip on the trigger itself. So it's the exact same material here and here. Very, very tacky, and when it gets wet, it gets even more tacky, which is nice. But a little bit of that is personal preference. That's not to say that this doesn't feel great. This actually feels really nice in the hand. And I actually may even prefer the ergonomics of the handle on this one. The more I use these, the more I like the ergonomic feel. You can see it kind of bumps out, and when you're holding on to it, everything feels very nice in your hand. But because of the price difference, I have to mention that you are getting some better materials with the active as opposed to the McKILLANS. All right, so let's touch on basically what separates this McKILLANS gun from pretty much every other gun on the market. They've introduced this little nozzle holder, which is really, really cool. And it's actually something that I find to be very annoying when I'm detailing my car, is as soon as you put these down, I don't know what it is about these, but they just disappear. So having this built into the gun is very, very cool. It appears to be just the right size too. Very, very cool. I gotta say, I love this. There are some companies that are coming out with little attachments, and I'll cover this on my next video, but there are some companies that are coming out with little attachments that kind of do the same thing, but they're like 20 bucks, so that can kind of justify the expense of of this gun. So I do really like that. It's really, really cool that they include that. Another thing I wanted to mention, if you have these oversized nozzles with the rubber guards, they will fit. It's obviously not perfect, but they do fit in here, and they seem to hold in pretty good. It's a little awkward, obviously, but they do fit in there, which is nice. So I at least wanted to mention that. And it's funny, another thing is, the more I play with this, the more I like it. The ergonomics are great. Like, I take off my nozzles kind of like this, and this is just perfect. Like, the way this bend is right here, it really fits at least my hand
perfect to be able to take the nozzles off like this. Whereas the active is not great with that. It's kind of awkward. I have to kind of change how I do it. I have to take my hand and put it over the top. Again, very small little details, but I do really like that. The ergonomics of this feels great. I can just use one thumb to take it off, put it back on. It feels really great. So I think there was definitely a lot of time into the ergonomics and the feel of this gun, which I do really appreciate. The more I use it, the more I like it. All right, so I'm sold. I'm totally sold on this gun, and I'm gonna show you why. Just on this demo, I'm gonna break down why this, probably like 99% sure, this is my new favorite swivel gun. I wanted to like the active more because that's like my go-to. After using this over and over again, I'm starting to see the genius in it. I'm going to show you exactly why. So check out this demo. First off, I can go from here to here, one hand, connect the foam cannon. I'm not fumbling with it. I can use my thumb, boom. If you're someone that likes a different degree nozzle on certain pieces of your car, like me on the truck, I like to do the steps on a 25 and I like to do the wheels on a 25. So I can just go like this, pop it off nice and easy. Switch to my 25 degree nozzle, again, just with one little thumb here. I can get my tires, I can get my wheels, I can get my exhaust, everything that I would normally have to switch to, I can just keep it all here. So then when I'm done doing what I needed a little more pressure for, boom, I can just take it out. I got everything right here, and I'm telling you guys, once you get used to having all this right here, it's really nice. It probably feels a little bit heavier, like I said, with the torque, having the components on the outside. It feels a little heavier than the active because of that torque against you, but it's not enough to not make this a winner, in my opinion. So final thoughts, I really thought that I was going to be stuck on the active swivel gun because I love it so much. The internal aspect, the internal features, having all the components on the inside of the active definitely makes it feel lighter, but I've already forgot about it. Honestly, having the ability to put the nozzles right here and have it all in one unit, I'm not constantly having to look for the nozzle, or did I put it in my front pocket, back pocket, did I put it in my truck? Having everything nice and organized right here, absolute game changer. Another little tiny thing that makes all the difference in the world is this little notch right here. Being able to just hold it with one hand and use your thumb to switch between nozzles, switch between foam, it makes such a difference. It's the little things that make a big difference, and they really knocked it out of the park with that little notch and how it feels in your hand. I'm sold. I think this is my new favorite swivel gun. Shout out to MCKILLANS. Go get one, especially if you can get that $75 discount, or that's not 75, it's $75 with the discount. Really, really good deal. Even for $100, I think this is probably worth it. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the review. If you did, hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.